Here we're going to be making an agate basin out of dacite, black butter dacite. Here's an example of an agate basin point found in Illinois. This is an incredible example, amazing pressure work, you know, in general. And here are some other examples that I've made from hornstone, dacite, and really coarse grained basalt. And then here are some examples of other points, other agate basins. You know, these points range in length from like 2 to 7 inches. And in general, the way they're categorized is that they're long and slender with parallel or slightly convex sides, and usually have really, really nice horizontal flaking, typically some basal grinding, and yeah. So, and the base is also, you know, like as you'll see here, this is slightly concave, and some of the bases can be slightly convex. I don't know what you would call this. This is almost just a little bit concave or just square. But we're going to be making it with this rock, not exactly huge, but probably an average size agate basin when looking at the range in size was about 2 to 7 inches long. I'm really excited. I'm probably going to use all the different stuff from a little bit of rocker punching to some shaft punching to a lot of hammerstone work and maybe a little bit of antler percussion, and probably a lot of pressure. I'm not that good with the peg punches, and so I'm most likely going to be doing all my edge work or most of it, and you know, finishing this thing with sets of pressure, using either soft leather or an anvil stone. So anyways, that's what we're gonna do. All right, so let's take a look at some of the tools that I'm gonna be using. Here is my XL moose antler billet. This is the freshest one I've got, and if I, you know, sometimes I'll use this for early thinning on something like this, but this is a little bit of a small piece, but I really like this because it takes off really nice flat, and sometimes really heavy flakes, because this is a super heavy billet and it's really hard. It almost acts like copper in a sense. Here's some of my peg punches. This one's a little long, but sometimes I use it on the ground, like rocker punching, and I keep the edge square for that. But sometimes it, you know, I've been playing around with the peg punching, and then this is my main one. You can see it has a little bit of wear in this area from using it. And I don't even know what that's made from, some tine. Here's a whitetail tine, use it for a little bit of shaping and platform prep. I use a bunch of different hammerstones. I would say that my two favorite for dacite, the two that, like if I had to pick two of these to use for this whole project, it would probably be this one and this one, which are actually pretty small, but compared to the piece. But this one I can use with brushing strokes. It's fairly hard, and then I can also use the edges to set up platforms, and also I like to use the edges for concentrated force. And then this is my new one I just got yesterday that I kind of broke today, but I really like the shape of this one, and it's really nice because I can again use the edges. I can use this end for broad strokes. I can flip it over like this and take even bigger flakes, so it's really cool. And I usually just vary my swing speed and platform prep versus size of the hammerstone. I really don't like using big hammerstones on small stuff, but it's just awkward for me. But if I'm going to, on like dacite or obsidian, which, because I live in California, I work a lot of this stuff, I would probably opt to use a really soft sandstone and catch the edge really fast. Something that almost feels like it's falling apart when you're using it. I at first really didn't like that, but then I got used to it, and this is one of my favorites, and I just get this out of the local river here. All these came from like 15 minutes from my house, except for this one. And yeah, here's another really nice soft gritty one. This one's a lot harder, and I use this on a lot of the cherts, and I like this when I get down to sort of a later stage, and I also like using it to prep my platforms. But I find that it's nice to do a little bit of edge work with this, and I can also use it brushing strokes, and all in all, I really like it for abrading, and it's fairly gritty, but it's way harder. You can tell by the noise. This one's really fun. I found this on the beach. I love this for platform prep. I actually was using this for late stage, like isolated platform patterning flakes the other day on this large obsidian blade that I ended up breaking with antler because I caused a hinge by not paying attention. Anyways, this is cool. It's actually got like a shell in it somewhere, or it did. Maybe it's a different one I'm thinking of. Anyways, this is an awesome hammerstone. Great for braiding. I can use it for brushing. And then lastly is this one, and this is probably one of my oldest ones that I've been using. It's very hard. It's but I don't even think it's sandstone, but it gets the job done. And I can remove some really heavy flakes with this. It's a really heavy stone, but I've worn facets into it, so it works like a sandstone rock versus like a really slippery hard rock. So it actually grips and catches the edge really nicely. Probably use this little moose striker. Again, black-tailed deer shaft punch, black-tailed deer tine in an ishy stick. And blacktail is quite a bit softer, but it's what I got. So there's the tools I'm going to be using, and let's get going on this agate basin. All right. So here's our piece, right? Nice little piece of Dacite black butter. And the biggest problem here is we don't have a whole lot of width, but we do have a whole lot of thickness. Like this has got to be like a 1 to 2 to, you know, like 2 to 1 with the thickness or the ratio. Maybe even 1 to 1. I don't know, 1.5 to 1. It's pretty darn thick. So we're got to thin this down while maintaining as much length as possible. Now there is a platform off the tip or the base, whichever ends up being which, but I'm going to try to avoid hitting that off the beginning here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by probably trying to remove a flake off of here, and I think I'm going to set it up for antler and really wail on it, just because that's what I feel more comfortable with from all my copper time. Once it gets a little thinner, I'm going to start pushing more hammer flakes off, or hammerstone flakes off, excuse me. Hopefully this is better than my first video as far as the quality goes. It's still my phone, but you know, the first video was pretty rough because I realized after I uploaded it that number one, the angle, you know, a bunch of stuff was out of frame. Like right now, I'm probably napping out of frame. I'm not used to this whole camera thing. And number two, the way I shot it just looked horrible. So now I've got my phone set up in a different way to help me shoot this in a little better, so that it's a little more user friendly. Alright, so I'm just isolating this platform out a little here. I should be able to get that with the antler. I'm going to cross grind it, scrunch it good. Now, it's nice and low. There's a little high spot on there. Scrunch it out. You can do a lot with these scrunches. Marty always talks about it. You can tell I'm a fan of his channel. Anyways, otherwise I'd be shooting these with copper. So there's my platform right there. It's very low, and I'm going to be striking it with a lot of inward force with the antler and catching it and giving a lot of inward force. And you know, we'll see. I'm going to be supporting it in the back of my hand, and I'm actually going to support this ridge here with hopes that it'll travel a little bit in that, but it might just shoot on over. We'll see. I haven't done any freehand today, so see how it goes. Maybe I'll do it on the pad. Actually, freehand. Ow. Can you guys even see this? Oh, I gotta be up further higher up. Okay. That, I hit really high on that. You can see that probably did something bad, but here's the flake full on. It overshot, which is okay, just a little bit. But the way I was supporting it was okay. I kind of hit that. I had to hold it up so high, but like I said, I wanted to follow that ridge, so I had my fingers along that ridge, and that was the ridge, so the flake inevitably traveled there. But boy, is this stuff pretty. Anyways, got myself a nice little cut.